Okay, let's lay out the UVs of our flying saucer. So I'm going to go to panel, go to layouts. I want 2 panes side by side. And I want this to be my perspective view so I can see. And I want this side to show my UV. So I'm going to go to menu within this panel. So panel, in panel, and go to the UV editor. And we can't really use these UVs because if we open the Hypershade window, rendering editors, Hypershade, and go into object mode and just apply the texture map here. I'm going to hit 6 so we can see it. It doesn't match. You have to lay out the UVs. So we're going to do just that. So I'm going to go up to the main menu here, go to UV, and automatic mapping. There, that's good. Okay, so this is our map. Just under it to toggle it on and off so you can see. There's a little icon right up here. And what I'm going to do, minimize the window that's on the right. And I'm going to go and figure out via faces which UV shell corresponds with what. I'm going to hit the 4 keys so I can just, actually 5 would be better just for a shaded view. Be careful how you select as well. So I know the top one is here. This is the shell for the top. And this is probably the shell for the bottom. I'm going to click UV shell. Sure enough, just making sure that's the bottom. All right, this is probably the dome. Yeah, indeed. So the dome is going to have its own shader on it. So I'm going to select shell, hit the W key, which is the move tool, and move it out of the way. I'm going to do the same for the bottom. And I'm going to scale up the top UVs. So scaling is the R key. As far as hotkeys go, scale, rotate, and move is also over here. Select is right here at the top, white arrow. All right, good. All right, so I'm going to take the bottom here because it has a different texture map. I'm going to squish it right in the middle there. That should do nicely. Now, let's see what that looks like now. Press the 6 key. Perfect. Well, nearly perfect. I'm going to assign a different shader to that dome. So, create another blend. Call it glass. And a little more white. And pump up the transparency. Select the shell. Assign material to selection. And it should work. Yeah, it did. Now, we have the UVs at the bottom, which shouldn't share the same texture map as the top. We want the bottom to be yellow because the Vogon ships were yellow, at least seen as yellow from Earth. So I'm going to turn this off so I can see the shell is selected. And I am going to go over to the Don't Panic map here and assign it. See what we have here. Now this has to be, yes, I have to go back in Illustrator and fix that map because it has to fit this shell right here. No problem. What I'll do is you're on a Mac, take a screen capture, which is Command-Shift-4, and take that into Illustrator. And I'll make sure that map fits right there. Not a problem. What's important for this video is cutting and sewing the UVs. So I'm going to turn this over. Because you never know when you may want to, apply a map to something that is transparent, like a watermark or something. So I'm going to teach you how to move and sew. So I'm going to go up to Tools and select UV Tools. So that's UV Toolkit. And I am going to expand Cut and Sew. That's what we use the most. And Align. All right. So here's our UVs and how you can tell which puzzle piece, because this works a lot like a jigsaw puzzle, aligns with whatever puzzle piece is. Select the edge, and it'll tell you where to go. This belongs over here. So instead of moving the entire shell, and rotating it, I mean, you will have to do that with some maps when they're more complicated, but this one should work out. Should copy and paste, should move and sew on its own. So select the edge and click Stitch Together. And it's going from A to B, A to B. There you go. Stitch together. I'm going to select that one. And just to show you what happens when you don't press Stitch Together and the UV shells are far apart, I'll just click Sew. You don't want to do that. That distorts your map. Okay? So when shells are far apart, click Stitch Together. So I'm going to go through here and now do some sewing. Right? Click Sew. Click the edges. Sew. More sewing. So it's actually quite relaxing, especially if you have on a movie or a book on tape. But when you're on a production for a great deal of people, it can be quite maddening. All right. I know this corresponds here somehow. I'm going to click here and here and see if Move and Sew will work. Stitch together. It worked that time. Sometimes it doesn't and it creates a mess and you do have to move the entire shell by hand and rotate. Looks like it's going to behave today. Good. So let's go here and here. Stitch together. Now we sew. 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 Good. You see those seams that were there before? Those white borders, they have all disappeared, and the map's all nice and clean, with the exception of the bottom. That's pretty easy to take care of in Illustrator. I'll bring this up. Bring up Illustrator really quick. Looks like Maya will have to yield in order for this to happen. There you go. And in Illustrator, I am going to place a UV snapshot. Go to File and Place. Go to my desktop. That's where snapshots are stored at first. Yeah. And place this guy. Hold down the scale. Hold down the shift tool for scale. Just bring this here. Going to reduce the opacity. 65% should do. Yeah, that was way off. Go to my zoom tool. Zoom in. Alright. Now, I know that text is not in the right spot. It's even on the wrong layer. Alright. So this should be pretty easy. Just scale it down. Scale down, don't panic as well. I see the UV is a little off here. I'm going to center it anyway in Illustrator, and I'll manipulate the UV to adhere to the map on the other side. So this, make sure I align to artboard. Yes. It only needs to be aligned vertically. Yeah, now I'll manipulate that UV. So I'm going to turn that off. Save. Go to File. Export an Illustrator to save different formats. I'm in my source images under my Maya project folder. And I am going to export the Don't Panic map. I'm replacing the existing one. All right. Let's see how that worked here. Click on the material. And go to its color channel. So I can get to the file. I'm going to reload just to make sure that it has done so. And it has. I'm going to click on this to see the UV. UV toolkit, scoot, scoot, scoot. Turn on that map. And I'm going to click shell. Let me move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And as I'm centering that shell, that is working for this map. Yay. Bowgun Fleet. Resistance is futile. But don't panic. All done. So lay out the UVs of your flying saucer and we'll be ready to export our assets to the game department. Have fun.